What's up guys, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another video. Now today, if you were to look at the figures that I have in the ring, you would probably assume that I will be going through my Night of Champions predictions for this Saturday, because these are the matches that will be taking place. You've got AJ Styles versus Dominic Mysterio, Solo Sikoa taking on Jacob Fatu, Cena versus Punk, and then you have either Cody or Jay against Randy for the King of the Ring, and you have Asuka versus Jade or Roxanne on the women's side of things. But today I'm not going to be talking about that because there might not be an event to talk about, potentially, or there might not be an event to happen in Saudi Arabia like this one is billed. It's been a long-standing thing, and there's been a lot of controversy surrounding the Saudi Arabian pay-per-views, PLEs, whatever you want to call them, because of, you know, the implications and the blood money, so to speak, and everything, and the injustices and inequality that goes on in Saudi Arabia. You know, the women have to be dressed head to toe, which is definitely going to pose some issues when the Royal Rumble is held there next year, because, you know, there's going to be people who are in the match for 60 minutes. It's really hot over there. They're completely covered. They're going to be roasting. That will also be an issue for the men, but especially for the women. And, you know, there's other issues like that. And, you know, they had the whole a few years ago when the plane was stopped and they weren't allowed to leave, and all the beheadings of like ministers and stuff like that. You know, it's quite a dodgy place, and the main reason WWE are there is for the money. It's not about the atmosphere, because the atmosphere isn't great at all. But I mean, when has that ever mattered? Because WrestleMania was as dead as it has been in a long time this year, and they're going back to the same stadium next year thinking it'll be better. No, it won't. Unless it means more of the locals won't go because they were there last year and more people from elsewhere come in. Maybe that'll work, but I don't know. But we're here to talk about Night of Champions and the Saudi Arabia show, because in the vicinity of Saudi Arabia at the minute, obviously there are growing tensions and really high tensions in the Middle East between, you know, Israel, Iran, Palestine, America getting really involved for some reason, because, I don't know, Israel just sort of do what they want and no one stops them. I don't know what they have over every other country in the world. There's got to be something, isn't it? But that's the way it seems. And now the US have got involved and they're bombing Iran, and Iran have sort of threatened America, any American bases in like nearby American targets and stuff like that. And I'm not saying if the WWE goes to Saudi Arabia they'll be bombed, because that probably makes a lot more issues for them than it solves, you know. But you don't get much more American than the WWE. You aren't going to get much more of a concentrated area for a sustained period of time that a group of American people will be in. And I mean, that would certainly be set a really big precedent. You know, it'd be a big thing. You know, that would end John Cena's retirement tour really early. And I'm not saying that they're going to kill John Cena, but that's sort of the things that you have to take into account. And, you know, your Triple H's and your Nick Khans have to probably make a decision about it. As of right now, talent have not been told anything different. They haven't been told to prepare any differently, to expect a change or whatever, because as of right now the show is going ahead in Saudi Arabia on Saturday night. You know, a lot can change in a week. You know, this whole situation wasn't as big as it was, or wasn't as big last week, or wasn't as big the week before as it was last week. You know, a lot can change, but I don't think everything's going to go back to how it was before. The tension isn't just going to fall and be, all right, we're all pally. Well, not again, because Israel's wanted someone to bomb Iran for years, and Donald Trump's the only one stupid enough to actually fall for it. But anyway, the welfare of the talent has to be taken into account here. It's a really weird one. I feel like you cannot justify doing anything else other than either cancelling, not rescheduling, cancelling the show or hosting it somewhere else. I know it's short notice, but in times like these, surely you would rather be safe than sorry. You have all of the people in the company. If the worst was to happen, that not only would it be a tragic loss for anyone who was injured, or well, not a tragic loss for injured, but it would be a tragic event if something was to happen of this magnitude. You're talking about a terror attack at a WWE event, basically, as to why this wouldn't be going ahead. It'd be definitely a tragic event, because people would lose their lives, people would be definitely injured, and that's sort of what they have to think about. And not only that, the personal side of things, you could get people killed because you choose to do the thing that gets you the most money, or you can break up families for it. What are they going to be thinking about? Probably more than anything, if something was to happen, how does the WWE move on from that? If, God forbid, a John Cena, a CM Punk, a Cody Rhodes, guys like that, if they were to lose their lives in a terror attack, how does the WWE move on from that? And it sounds bad to say, but that's probably what the WWE are thinking more than anything. Can we risk these guys, sort of thing? Can the WWE survive without them if the worst was to happen? Because you can imagine they're getting a shit ton of money for this, and as I've said, that's the only reason they're in Saudi Arabia. That's the only reason these wrestlers work the Saudi shows, really. And why Saudi got like a 10-year deal with the WWE, why they've got the Royal Rumble, why they have multiple shows a year. So I think it will go ahead, which seems like the unwise decision, albeit there probably isn't much of a chance of anything happening. I don't think anyone really want to mess with Saudi Arabia. Not that I know much about them, but you'd assume they wouldn't want to make the conflict any bigger or widen it, or sort of extend it to anywhere else, any other countries, any other big powers who have like a swing, a say in things and stuff like that. But you cannot bank on that. That's a big risk to take, and it's just very, very risky, in my opinion. If I was in that position, I don't think I would go ahead with it. You're not making a statement by saying we're not afraid of you with the WWE. You're saying we didn't want to cancel this show because the Saudis are paying us a shit ton of money, basically. And you're looking at a much bigger controversy than you were a few days ago with CM Punk being announced for the show, because CM Punk doesn't want to go to Saudi Arabia. CM Punk told The Miz to suck a blood money covered Saudi Arabian dick because he piped up about something. CM Punk's a hypocrite. That was the controversy going into this show like last week, that CM Punk has gone back on his word. Will CM Punk be there? Will he be written off of TV? An idea I had was R-Truth beats the shit out of him, turns heel on Punk, and then you get R-Truth versus Cena. And I think that'd make Cena's heel run more interesting, because it's like Cena's turned this happy-go-lucky guy heel. He's turned him to the dark side, and he's making him turn his back on people, and that would further Cena's run. And I think that R-Truth and the Punk stuff has been the best part of his heel turn so far, other than like maybe the first week, because he cut a good promo, but then he just cut the same promo like 3 or 4 other times with 3 or 4 different t-shirts on. And that was what was the big controversy going into the show, that surely CM Punk isn't going to be there. Now it's surely the WWE are going to call this off, because otherwise they might get bombed, which it is unlikely, as I've said, and it is big stakes. Well, we will see what happens. I do expect WWE just to go along with it as normal, and most likely everything will be fine. and nothing will happen, and there might be some backlash, but probably only from people on wrestling Twitter, so it won't make a big difference to WWE as long as they get their money, they get the adverts out there, you know, that maybe they fly Travis Scott out, have him like a big friendship concert in the Middle East, or something like that, or just play Fiend, which will probably trigger some sort of retaliation from Iran, to be fair. So maybe don't take Travis Scott out there. But yeah, that's my thoughts on this whole situation. Let me know yours down below. Should WWE go ahead with Night of Champions, given the implications and everything surrounding it, and the ramifications of what could what could happen. If you've enjoyed the video, please do like and subscribe, and turn your post notifications on to be updated on any of my other uploads, because I'll be doing more of these sorts of videos going forward. You know, this is episode 19 of Let's Talk Wrestling, so it might be episode 20. I don't know. I'll put either one of it in there, to be fair, whatever one it is. So yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. I've got tons more content coming soon. Dead Man's Deliveries, figure flipping, this Let's Talk Wrestling series, pay-per-view predictions, of course, will be going out, and the reaction to it, if it does go ahead. The PIC-FED is being worked on as we speak. Well, not as we speak, but it is being worked on in between filming videos, or videos are being filmed in between working on the PIC-FED. So yeah, that is everything I've got to talk about today. If there is anything you want me to talk about in this series, then let me know in the comment section down below. I'm hoping to make this more of like a podcast where I get guests on and talk about what they want to talk about and stuff like that, going forward. But obviously maybe need to grow a bit on here first, to get to the point where people would want to come on and talk about stuff. I'll just throw in this. I met Sullivan from Wrestle Talk, No Rolls Barred, yesterday on the tube. He was a nice guy, so that was nice. So yeah, that's it for today. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you've enjoyed. If you have, do all the other stuff that I mentioned already 4 or 5 times. I just keep yawning in my videos, and I don't know why, but anyway, I'm gonna have some dinner. So yeah, thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.